Right. Good evening, everybody, and welcome once again to another episode of our 30 Days Health Restore Challenge. How is it going with you? I hope you are following and you are actually adhering to the rules of the game as we have it. Yes, it's a game because it's fun, it's very interactive, it gets you to learn more and more by the day. And just as we've been doing for the last 3 Thursdays, today being the fourth Thursday running, we have another episode, an interesting episode with Dr. Torbi, who's been our resident doctor for the last, 4 weeks. And we've been looking at all the lifestyle diseases that, have kind of in the last 20 or so years engulfed humanity. And we've been looking at the medical perspective of all these lifestyle diseases and what we can do to be able to prevent or reverse them if there are any remedies as such. We've looked at hypertension, we've looked at cholesterol, we've looked at heart diseases, in the last few weeks. And today, we're going to be doing two very interesting topics that I know a lot of people would, take keen interest in. So, just like if you are joining us from Facebook, like and share. If you are joining us from YouTube, like and share. Invite as many people as possible because today there is a lot to be taken away. Like I said, it's been 3 weeks running. Today is the fourth week actually, and on the episode with Dr. Torbi. And I want to say a very big thank you to Salad Master, our proud sponsors, and then the visionary or torchbearer behind this whole program, Mr. Tony Bello. And to you, our over 100 subscribers on this program, we have over 100 people partaking in this 30 Days Health Restore Challenge. And every single day, they have a menu for breakfast, lunch, and supper. And so if today is the first time you are joining us, I believe that your day one would become our day, I think, day 23, 25 actually, which will be tomorrow. So yes, it is once again with me, Hola Lidelechu. And today, like I said before, we are having Dr. Torbi. Yes, Dr. Prosper Torbi, one of the young medical doctors we have in Ghana doing wonders and justice to all the questions that we have asked in recent times. So without wasting much time, let me bring on Dr. Prosper Torbi. Hi, Doc. Good evening and good to see you.
Hello, Alali. Good evening. Good to see you again too. How are you?
I'm great. Yourself?
Fantastic. I'm doing very well.
Absolutely great. So in the last 3 weeks or so, we've been looking at the lifestyle diseases that have kind of like affected humanity in the last decades, or so or more, I should say. Maybe in Ghana, especially, it could be probably from around the independence, era where we had all these lifestyle diseases coming in because we started importing lifestyle, change in lifestyle, and all of that. We've looked at hypertension, we've looked at cholesterol, we've looked at kidney issues or heart diseases. And today we are doing obesity, yeah? Obesity and fertility issues or infertility, as others will put
Yeah.
it. Yes, but before we go into all of that, let's go for a quick break. And right after the break, we'll dive into today's topic.
Okay.
Okay, welcome back from that break. Just a bit of teaser on some of the African, foodstuffs that we have and their health benefits, and I hope you enjoy that. So today, like I said, we're doing, you know, some very interesting things. We're going to be looking at infertility. It's interesting, huh? Infertility and, um, obesity, which happens to be one of the leading lifestyle diseases in Africa. We're going to be looking at the causes, the types, the risk factors, the solutions or remedies that we can put together to kind of affect these lifestyle diseases. And then we'll look at infertility as well. Why is it that in today's age, infertility has become an issue of concern, especially in our African setting or even in Ghana? So let me bring on Dr. Torbi now, and then we will dive straight into this. Yes, so Dr. Torbi,
Hello.
right. So what is, obesity? When we talk about obesity, what is it?
Oh, so when we talk about obesity, we're referring to an excess in the storage of body fat. That is basically what obesity means.
Okay.
Now, so then the question will be, what is that excess? So then it means that we should find a way of measuring or determining that somebody has excess body fat. Okay. I mean, there have been so many different proposed ways of doing that. Some people check the percentage of total fat in the body, whilst some people also check the circumference of your waist, and then some people also check your waist hip ratio. There are a lot of things. Okay. And the one that is common or that we all use is the one that WHO uses, the World Health Organization. So
Okay.
they use your weight, the weight that you have, and then your height to calculate what we call the body mass index. Okay, I can see it projected on the screen. Yeah. So it's just basic mathematics that we do. We
Okay.
check your weight in kilograms, now check your height in meters. So we divide by you divide the weight in kilograms by the square root of your height in meters. And then we use that to determine if somebody is in a normal weight or is even underweight or is obese. So yeah,
Okay,
basically
so
that's obesity, and that's
okay,
how we measure it.
okay. So at what point do we say one is obese?
Okay, so we using the percentage of body fat, for example, if you determine the body fat of a man to be above 25%, then you can say that that man is obese.
25%. The total
Yeah,
body mass of a man. When you say man, are you referring to a male gender or both?
no, a male gender. So if the total fat, if the total fat in the body of a man is 25% or more, you can say that that man is obese.
Okay.
If it is a woman and it is more than 33%, you can say that the woman is obese. I mean, these are very technical things that we need, I mean, advanced instruments to check. So then the basic one that we can all check and relate to that you may not need so much to do is the BMI calculation. And that's the one that WHO uses. So just check
Okay.
your weight and then you divide by your height in meters squared.
So this
And
is just
using
a
that,
basic one that anyone can do at home.
yeah, you don't need any special instrument. You just need a weight, a scale, weighing scale to check your weight, and then a weight to check your height. You can download the. There are so many apps now that you can download online,
Okay.
BMI calculators that you can just use to check your BMI. It even gives you the range that you are in, whether you're in the underweight, normal weight, or obese category.
Wow.
I
Okay.
don't know if you have a picture that shows the various categories, so we can just talk about that one.
Let's see if we. Okay. Yeah, I think this is what you are referring to.
Yeah, so then if you check your body weight and then it falls in the different categories, now you know what to do. Now,
Okay.
so the BMI that we are talking about, if it is below 18.5, then you can see
You are
that you are
underweight.
underweight. Yeah, you need to pack up some more weight. And if it is between 18 to 25, then we are talking about the ideal weight. Okay. Now, so anything above 25, it's obesity, or let's just say it's obesity. Now, that obesity as a problem is then classified into various, severity categories. So we have grade
Wait,
one, grade
Dr.
two.
Toby, before you
Yeah,
proceed, has this got to do has this got anything to do with age as well? So probably if you are this older, um, your your BMI could vary, because I'm just imagining probably someone who is about say 15, 16 years. Well, for me, I think the person will fall between 18.5 and below. Would that mean the person is underweight?
yeah, that's a very important question. So when it comes to children, the things that we use for them are a little different from what we use to calculate for adults. Okay.
Okay.
So then for the children, we check the BMI all right, but then we use it to we chart it on a standard chart. Okay.
Okay.
And then we determine the level at which a child is classified as being underweight or being obese. So the children don't, even though we calculate the BMI for them, but we don't go straight away to classify them as into being underweight, obese, or normal weight. We have to plot their weight on a standardized chart, which is produced by WHO for all health professionals. So theirs is not as ours. So if you're talking about somebody like 15, um, less. I mean, we use different approaches to handling their issues. What we are talking about, this BMI scale that we're using currently, the one projected on the screen, is for adults.
For adults. Okay, so 18 years and above. I mean,
Yeah,
if that's the definition of an adult.
yeah, that's
Okay.
the
Okay.
definition of an adult constitution.
Okay. Okay. Right. So um now we like to always look at, some data. Do we have any data
Yeah.
on the, frequency of obesity across the world, or probably Africa, and even talking about Ghana?
Yeah, so the issue about obesity, it varies per country. Okay. And then it also depends on the height and then the level of industrialization of the particular country of interest. Okay. So you would realize that in the heavily industrialized countries, they have higher rates compared to the uh, unindustrialized countries or like
Mm.
Africa.
Mm.
But then it has been found that with increasing levels of industrialization, the rate of obesity is also increasing.
Okay.
Now, I like US so much in terms of their research, the research
Mm.
into anything. So if it comes to data,
Mm.
one place that can get accurate data is the US population. However, we
Okay.
have data of the world's population of obesity. Now,
Mm.
it's been found that in 2016, there's a non-communicable disease risk classification group. Okay,
Okay.
so they deal with the non-communicable diseases like the hypertension, diabetes, obesity, and all of that. Okay, and then the data they released in 2016, okay, showed that 124 million children and adolescents are obese.
124 million
Yeah,
of the entire world population is obese.
no,
Wow.
of children and
Of
adolescents, just
children
children and
and
adolescents.
okay, so from age 0 to maybe age 15, 16, 17.
Yeah. But it just goes to show that obesity is not only limited to adults, children too can also be affected. Then they also found that in that same year, 2016, 1.3 billion. Now, can you remember the population of the whole world in 2016? It should be around 7 billion, something
Yeah,
thereabout. Okay.
something
And then
thereabouts.
1.3 billion of adults in 2016 were overweight,
Wow.
not obese, they were overweight. Yeah. And then 230 million children and adolescents were also overweight. And that's 1 year ago. So then it shows the gravity of the problem. Now,
Mm.
the studies were done grouping the world into zones. So we have the Mediterranean, you have the Americas, and then you have the Europes. And it's been
Mm.
found that in some parts of the Middle East and some parts of North Africa, the rates were found to be as high as 40%. Okay.
40% of the population, or as in like
Yeah.
the specific number that they were looking at.
Now, 40% of the population in those defined areas.
Wow.
Yeah. So the reason I mention all these statistics is that the percentages vary
Mm.
per the region of the world that you are in,
Yeah.
and per the level of industrialization of the country
Mm.
that you are in. Okay. We don't have so much data for our part of the world.
Okay.
But then again, US also did a study in 2012 and they realized that of immigrants into the US from Ghana and Nigeria specifically, they
Mm.
realized that back in their native countries, they wouldn't have become obese. But then just by moving into a more advanced country, the rates of getting obese had increased.
Wow.
So if 1.3 billion people in the world in 2016 were overweight, that
Mm.
should be more than 10%, considering that at that time the population of the world should be around 7 billion.
Mm. Mm.
It's significant. Yeah.
Wow. That's quite a huge number to look at. It's huge.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so now that we've looked at, some of the data that we have, what could be the causes of this particular lifestyle disease, obesity or overweight? We've looked at, the standard measurement. We've looked at the growth process. What could be the cause?
So previously,
Mm.
okay, the main issue about being obese is that is energy imbalance. So energy intake and use imbalance. Okay. What I mean by that is that you are taking in more than you are using. That is the main underlying factor for obesity. If you are taking in more than you are using, what are the causes for that? Okay. Now, basically eating. If you are eating more than you are using the energy you are getting from the food, then you will end up storing more than you should be using. And then consistently storing so much energy over a period of time increases your total fat, and then you are obese. Okay. But it's also been found that there may be some genetic component to the whole obesity. Okay. But that just accounts for something small of the total percentage. So yeah, so the mostly the causes of obesity are just taking in so much and they're not using as much as you are taking. So yeah, the net effect is that there is reduction in the usage compared to an increase in intake. Okay. So then you take in more, you use less. The rest has to be stored. And then when you finish storing it as glycogen, then the rest is stored as fat at various points in your body.
Doc, now let's just take it a step further back because I think we have something on the screen that's kind of you know prompting us. Maybe we could look at step by step the causes. I don't know if you can see clearly. Maybe we can talk about them. So I
Okay. I'll try. I can't see it so clearly, but okay. So yeah, I like this classification. You know, it's grouped them into dietary causes and then the non-dietary causes. So as I said earlier, the main factor, the main underlying factor in obesity is that you are taking in more than you are using. Okay.
okay.
So you're taking more energy and then you use less of it. So the rest of the energy that you take in, the body has to preserve it for another day. So it stores it under your, I mean, in your abdomen, in your thighs, at the back of your neck, various places. Okay. So then if you store more and you don't use, you store more, you don't use, your storage keeps increasing and you just end up putting on weight. Okay. So then the dietary causes would have to relate to foods that have so much energy or high caloric intake foods. Okay. I can see that you have some nice pictures of foods here.
Sandwich,
But
fries, some drinks.
yeah, some drinks and yeah.
So I can
So
see
basically, if you're taking
the first one is junk food, which is eating excess amounts of junk food instead of healthy food. Second one is eating more amounts of processed food, cold drinks, eating food stuff made from okay, soya bean. I am. This is like new to me though. Lack of foods rich in fiber, eating fruits and vegetables without um, proper washing, or maybe grown with pesticides, imbalance in gut and bacteria with increased number of bad bacteria inside large intestines. Okay, these are new revelations, Doc, to me, that even intestines could have bad bacteria growing in them, and that could affect digestion, which means that you were saying that we take in a lot and we don't use them. Does that mean that sometimes the bacteria will prevent the food from actually going through the proper digestion process?
well, I mean, we can say that because you know we have certain bacteria in our guts that help in the digestion of certain kinds of food. Okay,
Okay.
for example, you know we don't chew grass like the way animals do.
Yeah.
Now, but yeah, those things contain what we call cellulose, and human beings do not have an enzyme for digesting those kinds of food. Okay, so then when you take in high amounts of raw phages, it tends to increase the bulk of food of your stool because now you're not going to digest those fats and then absorb them into your body. It just helps in the movement of your bowel. So yeah, those ones you need bacteria to help them to digest. Okay.
Okay.
I cannot state categorically or emphatically the relation that has with obesity. That I
Okay.
do not know.
Okay. Now, still on the causes of obesity, we on the screen we can see overeating, which obviously is where we just came from. That's the dietary factor. We see
Yeah.
hormones, generic medication. Now, since we are looking at the medical aspect, how can medication attribute to overweight that could go on to grow into obesity? Hormones, generic, we're looking at smoking, insufficient sleep, sedentary lifestyle. How do all this come in play to
Okay.
cause obesity?
Well, we'll attempt to describe all of them one by one. So
Okay.
I won't talk much about the overeating because that's basically what we've been discussing over the last
Mm,
few minutes.
mm,
Okay. The thing about the sweetened drinks is that they contain high amounts of calories. I mean energy. Okay.
mm,
So then you take a small volume of the drink, but the amount of calorie it contains is so much that you may not be able to, digest all of or use all of it. I mean, burn
mm,
all of it to give you energy. Okay. And if you take that and you take normal food in addition, what it means is that you're taking in a lot of calories that the body will have to find a way of taking care of, which is by storing the excess and then giving you what you can use. Okay.
mm,
Now, the genetic one is very interesting. So there have been several studies into the genetics of obesity. Okay.
okay.
We found a number of genes that can or have a contributory role in the development of obesity.
Mm,
There are lots of them actually, but then the studies also have found that even all those genes put together or all those genetic factors put together, they are not enough to actually cause so much of obesity. Okay,
really?
you may if you remember over the last few weeks we were talking about all the lifestyle diseases that we discussed. There were two main components. You have the genetic components and then the environmental component. And I
Mm-hmm.
said that the reason why there is so much emphasis on the lifestyle component is that the environmental factors alone, if properly dealt with, can reduce significantly our risk of getting these lifestyle diseases.
Okay.
Obesity is one of them. Just that
Okay.
there's a small percentage of obesity that actually has a strong genetic component, and those
Okay.
people,
Okay. Now,
yeah,
Doc,
and then those people, they,
I want us to, before we even continue with the genetic, I want us to go back to the sweetened drink because a question just came up that now we keep hearing calories, calories, calories. How do you measure or how do you even know that the quantity of calories present in this drink is not good for you? Or probably if I take 500 mil of, the bottled drinks or the plastic mineral bottled drinks that we have on the market now, how do I
yeah.
know that, well, this amount of calorie in there is not good for me and therefore I don't need to take because this evening, as we are speaking, I know there are a lot of people who would have this sweetened drinks by their plates of rice or whatever they'll be eating for supper. And you are saying that the moment you are taking that food and you are taking the sweetened drink as well, you are taking in excess calories that the body will not need. So how are we able to determine what amount of calories should we consume in a day, and how do we determine that this level of calorie is not good at this time of the day?
Okay. So for regulatory purposes, or for some reasons like what we are talking about, it, all processed food manufacturers, including the soft drinks and the canned foods and all those things, are mandated to indicate the amount of calorie in the particular foods that they produce.
Mm.
I have a water bottle here. Let me see if there's anything like that written on it. Well, they did not indicate the amount of calories in water, but I mean, obviously, water will contain much. Okay, but then every bottle of drink or every processed food that you eat, there
Mm.
is an indication on the amount of calories that it will contain. Now, the thing about those liquid ones are that liquids are easily digested compared to solids. Okay.
Okay.
Now, in the health setting, if somebody comes to the hospital with very low blood sugar, that is not too low as to warrant a drip. We usually tell them to take a drink because those ones will release energy into the system faster. Okay. Now, the amount of calories we take in a bottle of drink per se, it is not too much to cause harm to anybody. You can take a
For a
drink
take,
with
not at a
yeah,
go. Probably because I know people are addicted to some soft drinks or energy drinks, as we would like to call them on the market. So the person takes it like every day.
yeah. So then if the person takes it like every day, that may be a concern. But of course, we have to determine the amount of calories written on the bottle or on the particular food before we can say that okay, this amount is too much in addition to what you are eating. But usually, I mean, taking a bottle of drink with your normal food that you are eating shouldn't be too much for you, especially if you're an active person that you use the energy that you take. So then you can eat and then take a drink alongside. But then if it becomes a consistent habit where you end up taking so much, then you have to okay, if it's an addiction problem where you cannot eat without having a drink by your side, then you may have to sit with a dietitian or a health professional and then we'll examine all the drinks that you like to take. And then we'll determine the amount of calories in them, and then
Okay.
you have to sit with the dietitian as well, and then we'll determine the kinds of food that you eat, and then the amount of calorie in them, and then we can calculate
Which,
how much you
which,
are required to take in a day.
which is exactly what we are doing on the 30 Days Health Restore Challenge,
Ah,
and giving people the opportunity to kind of like still eat healthy, enjoy the food they eat every day, and still maintain a balanced, healthy life. And Doc, there is this soft drink on the market. It's a very popular one. We've heard a lot about this kind of soft drink for business purpose. I don't want to kind of like for us to damage anyone's business brand and all of that. But I hear it has 12 cubes of sugar. And apparently in the US, they had been pulled to the stage before. Their vice president was pulled into an interview, and the, 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 they had some kind of like a demo, and they proved that that quantity of sugar was in this particular bottle of drink. How concerned should we be when we are taking this kind of sweetened drink in relation to obesity or overweight?
okay. So no, for the record, no country in the world would agree to any processed food company selling poison to its customers.
Really?
But then the yeah, because we
Doc,
have food and drug, we have Food and
is it
Drugs
is it
Authority
is it
in
is
every
it
country.
just on paper, or it's the reality you are speaking to?
Well, I mean, we have Foods and Drugs Authority in every country. Okay, they are the people who are responsible for regulating the amount of calorie in these kinds of processed foods. Okay, now what happens is that most of these drinks or most of these processed foods that you take in a day, the amount of calories that they contain for you to take in a day is not too much to cause you problems. Okay,
In a
but
day,
then
not to
what?
cause you problem in
Yeah,
a day, not for your lifetime.
yeah. That I because other thing is this processed food companies they also have nutritionists, they also have doctors who determine the amount of calorie that is allowable in any particular bottle of drink that they produce and sell to the consumer. Okay, so what amount of calorie they contain is not too high to cause problems in any particular individual. The problem comes when you become addicted to this thing that you are consuming it in excess of the daily requirements. Okay. Uh-huh. And
So
I
that's why
mean,
they say too much of everything is bad.
exactly, too much of everything is bad. That's where it comes from.
Okay, so Doc, let's move on to hormones. Then probably we look at medications because the medication aspect of it is very important to me. Let's look at the hormones. Now we looked at the genetics, which is probably from parents or family line. Is hormones? I mean, well, you just go ahead, Doc, on hormones. What do you have to say?
Yeah. So the hormones that we are talking about here, there are complaints or concerns with genetically modified foods. I think in the last ministerial vetting, I think the minister for one of the sectors was asked a question about that. And I remember him mentioning that I don't remember exactly what he said. But then this hormones thing, in some way, there is not much clear cut evidence in this area to
Okay.
pinpoint
Okay.
or pick one particular hormone and say that this is responsible for obesity. But I mean, the body's energy consumption is regulated by hormones. If you are taking it from that point of view, okay, then we can talk about hormones in that sense, and that comes down to a little bit of genetics. Okay, so then you can link that to genetics because you have hormones that control or regulate our appetite. There is a hormone for regulating the your hunger. So if you are hungry, the body releases a hormone which goes into the brain and tells the brain that you should tell your body to start finding food. Okay. And then there's another hormone in the body that when you are full, it is released and it tells the body that okay, then you are satisfied, so you don't need food again. So what those hormones do is that, for example, the hormone that alerts you that you're satisfied, it also works on your senses. I mean, your sense of smell. Okay, so it will make you at a particular point of satisfaction. Food wouldn't smell so nice to
Invite.
you.
Okay.
Uh-huh. So then, if you are taking hormones from that point of view, then you can speak to that effect that the hormones that regulate the amount of uh, that regulates or alert you when you're hungry, and hormones that let you know that you're satisfied and you need no more food. Then you can
Okay.
talk about it in that sense.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And if there are
So
problems in their production, then there'll be problems with
okay. Then let's look at the sedentary lifestyle and insufficient sleep because that's one of the questions that just came up. I think it's important to
uh,
people as well. How would being sedentary, immobile, or not having enough sleep? I mean, how would that affect you and lead to obesity?
okay. So the residential lifestyle bit, I think it's quite correct. As we said earlier, if you take in more food than you use, then you end up storing the excess energy in the food that you take, and then you become obese. Now, if you are sedentary, it reduces. Sedentary lifestyle just means that you're not active enough. Okay, the more active you are, the more energy you use, or the more energy you burn, the more fat you burn. Now, if you are sedentary, you are not so active. You get up, sit in a car, go to office, sit at your desk till let's say 4 or 5 p.m., get up, sit in your car, and then come back home. You may not be active enough. Okay, so that qualifies as a sedentary lifestyle. If you are walking and you are stretching your legs and stretching your arms and doing all that, your muscles need energy to help
Yeah.
you do that. Okay. Uh-huh. And that energy is derived from the food that you eat. If there's no food in your stomach, but then the energy is stored as fat in your body if you are walking or you are running or exercising or doing something that requires energy. Of course, that fat is going to be burnt. Okay. And it
Okay.
will, as you're burning it, then it reduces. So yeah. The bit about insufficient sleep. So
Yeah.
studies were done and then they realized that it's actually an association, not a cause and effect relationship.
Okay.
Okay. They realized that those who sleep 5 hours or less, okay, and then those who sleep 8 hours or more, they tend to have, I mean, there's an association between obesity and then people with this kind of sleep pattern. I don't know if you get it.
Okay. So 5 hours or less, it's
Uh-huh.
an association of people that could be obese, and 8 hours or more. That means you are sleeping too much. You are staying in bed too much, which could be a sedentary
Yeah,
kind of lifestyle. Okay, I get
exactly.
it. I get it. I get it.
Then
Okay.
there's a relationship between those who also sleep 5 hours or less. and then obesity. Now, as I said earlier, we do not have a direct cause and effect relationship between obesity and some of these things. It's an association.
Okay. Right. So probably let's touch a bit on smoking. I don't know how smoking really would affect, would lead to obesity. But is it something that could possibly lead to obesity? And has there been any studies in that regard?
Okay. So, the things that we smoke, they contain various chemicals that tend to affect our metabolism. In a way, when we say metabolism, it just means that, uh, I mean, breaking down your sources of energy to release energy for you to use. Okay. Now, smoking contains chemicals that can affect these things in a way, but I have not come across a direct causal relationship between smoking and then obesity. But smoking is one of the commonest or one of the most important factors that actually increase the risk of developing lifestyle diseases, not obesity alone, but with hypertension, with diabetes, with cardiovascular diseases. So smoking is a very prominent member in the lifestyle disease category of risk factors.
Okay. So let's look at medication. Then we will go for a short break. When we come back, we look at some of the medical complications and then preventive or curative alternatives. Then we move on to fertility. So, what are some of the medical concerns? I might be quick to say that various, not just scientific medications, but we have a lot of drugs on the market today that people take in for various reasons, body enhancement, skin toning, and all of that. Do all this come in play when it comes to medication?
Okay, so the medication base, we have a lot of medications, and if you remember in the earlier shows, I mentioned that almost every medication has some form of side effect.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And then, per the production guidelines, they are all supposed to indicate on a leaflet the kinds of side effects that their medications produce. There are some medications that are known to increase your chances of getting obese. Okay. And then there are some that are not related at all. So there are medications that if you take, the side effect can be weight gain. Okay. And that is one of the reasons why we advise against self-medication. Okay. And then the other thing too is that, we ideally hope not to prescribe medications for long. We just prescribe medications for a specific time. So even though a medication may have a side effect of causing someone to gain weight, we do risk benefit analysis. Realize that, okay, even though this medication can cause you to gain weight, the reason why we are giving it to you far outweighs the risk of developing obesity. And moreover, when you are done with that medication, then you may come back to your normal weight. So yeah, there are some medications that have side effects of causing you to gain weight.
Wow, it's been a lot to take in for the last 40 minutes or so. So we'll take a breather here. And if you are joining us for the first time, it's our 30 Days Health Restore Challenge and our fourth session with Dr. Prosper Torbi on, we are looking at obesity and infertility today. So that's been it for the last 40 minutes. We'll take a breather here. And when we come back, we look at some of the medical complications of, obesity and what we can do to actually prevent and reverse these lifestyle disease from the medical point of view. So stick and stay. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back from that short break. If you are joining us for the first time, or probably you've missed the first half of the session, it's been an amazing time with Dr. Toby again, and we've been looking at obesity, its related causes, some of the things that we do that could actually, lead to obesity, and what the world data is saying to obesity. And it's one of the alarming lifestyle diseases. Probably you might not consider yourself to be obese. Yeah, one of the questions that came up was, what if I'm slim and I'm looking so fit? Is there any other form of obesity other than the obvious one that we see on the outside? So I'm going to bring Dr. Toby on now so that he could help us to answer that one. Then we look at some medical complications, and probably we look at some remedies or actions that we can take to reverse this particular lifestyle disease. You can keep sending in your questions. Dr. Toby will try as much as possible to answer them. Yeah, so Doc,
Hi.
I saw you smiling. You heard me right.
Yeah, I had the question about being slim and then what are the chances of? Yeah, it's a very important question. You remember in the beginning we talked about BMI, and we also
Right.
talked about other ways of determining whether somebody is obese or not. Okay. So the other part is, so if you are slim, and we check your BMI, that may put you in the normal range. Okay. But then there is a more advanced method where you can actually check the percentage of body fat that an individual has. Okay. And that's the one that, if you remember, I mentioned some figure that for a man, if you have
25.
25%
Yeah.
or more of your total body being fat, then you are obese. And if you are a woman, if your percentage is 33%, I mean, it puts you in the obesity category. But I mean, if you are slim, chances are you may not, the BMI may be enough to uh, classify you all right, but it may not be absolute, if I can use that word. But I mean, if your BMI puts you in the normal ranges, the chances of being obese are so low. It means you probably are normal.
Okay. Okay. But so now someone has a question that I was once told that there is something called lean obesity. What
Really.
or maybe, yeah, lean obesity.
Oh, okay. So the lean obesity they are talking about, I haven't heard it before, but
Okay.
then there is a concern about those who have high uh, muscle mass. Okay.
Right.
High muscle
Right.
mass.
Right.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So those ones, if you do the BMI calculation, okay, no, the high muscle mass will obviously increase your weight. Okay. And then
Okay.
when you strike that with the height to calculate the BMI, it will put you in a category that may suggest that you are probably overweight or obese. Okay. But
Even
then
though
because it
physically
is
you
not,
are not big.
uh but because it is not fat, it is not fat, I mean the as in fat, then you may not be obese per the actual measurement. That's why I'm saying that we have things to actually measure your percentage of fat in your body. Okay. Somebody may have exercised so much that they have developed big muscles and then have increased in weight. And when you check, you may want to see that the person is obese or the person is over. But then when you
Oh,
check the actual fat in the person's body, it may be less than 25% if the person is a man, or less than 33 if the person is a woman. And that
okay.
would then prove that the person is not obese. So I don't know if that's what the person is referring to as the lean
Obesity.
obesity. I don't
Okay,
know.
that's fine. So moving on, we're going to we want to look at what are some of the medical complications and how adverse um, can they be in terms of dealing with obesity.
Okay. So obesity, of all the lifestyle diseases that are known to man, okay, or non-communicable diseases, it is found that after smoking, obesity is the second most common risk factor that you can find in all those lifestyle diseases. Okay, we talked
Wow.
about hypertension, diabetes, all those things. Okay,
Mm.
so smoking is a common risk factor, a very notorious one among all these groups of lifestyle diseases. And the
Okay.
second most common risk factor seen is the obesity. Okay. Now, obesity, I think you have a nice picture here that we can talk about. So, some of the complications of obesity, if you remember earlier when we were discussing hypertension and diabetes and cholesterol and stuff, we mentioned that they can all result in stroke. Okay. And you also remember that we talked about fat being deposited under the inner lining of your blood vessels. And
Mm.
that increases or increases the or narrows the lumen of the blood vessels, and then it
Yeah.
can lead to a complete
It slows
occlusion.
down blood flow. Yeah.
Yeah. So that can result in stroke if it happens in the head. Remember, we mentioned that if it happens in the head, you're getting a stroke. If it happens in the heart, you're getting a heart attack. And if it happens in the legs, you're probably getting a dead leg, which may have to be cut away. Okay.
Cut off. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the sleep apnea. Sleep apnea just means that there is a absence of breathing for a particular period of time. Okay. Now, if you have fat deposited everywhere in your body, including your airways or including the back of your mouth or your tongue, when you
Mm.
sleep, this tends to narrow your airway. So then the amount of air that you get in reduces. So if there's total occlusion, then there is uh, absence or there's a cutting off of the amount of air that you breathe. And if that
Wow.
goes on for a while, and then the brain starts to um, react, it causes you to wake up, and then you open your mouth and then you breathe, and then you go back to being normal. I don't know
Now,
if you get it.
could that lead to death? Because I'm just thinking that your breath is cut off at a point. Could it lead to death? The sleep apnea.
Well, it's the issue is if your body is without oxygen
Mm.
for a while,
Okay.
and you are a living person, okay,
Mm.
the brain will react. But the brain is a control center.
Mm.
So obstructive sleep apnea or sleep apnea, it actually prompts your brain to wake you up because it occurs during sleep. Okay, so
Mm.
then you immediately wake up and then open your mouth and then you get in the air that you need. So if you are a normal human being functioning well, it should not cause you to die. Is that it has risk or associations with other causes of death, if I may say that.
Now, looking at this diagram on the screen, I think it embodies almost all the lifestyle diseases that we've kind of looked at. I can see heart disease there. I can see high blood pressure. I can see diabetes, mellitus, cancer, osteoarthritis, body fat abnormality, which would be obvious on the outside. How concerned should we be in this time and age of obesity? Because I don't think we really have, trumpeted the dangers of obesity enough to get people alarmed and alert about it. How concerned should we be?
Okay, so let me just mention all the associations or all the diseases that are related to obesity or all the diseases that obesity has a hand in. Remember,
Mm.
I said earlier that after smoking, obesity is the
Yeah.
commonest risk factor associated with all diseases. Now, if
Mm-hmm.
you can start from the head down to the toe, I mean, when it
Mm.
comes to the head, obesity can contribute to somebody's risk of getting a stroke. Okay. It can also cause the obstructive sleep apnea that we talked about earlier. It also increases your risk of getting the respiratory infections, like chest infections. Okay. Then obesity is um, implicated in a lot of cancers, colon cancer, breast cancer, endometrial cancer, um, rectal cancer, prostate cancer, ovarian cancer, lung cancer, and then breast cancer. All those
Wow.
cancers have some relation with obesity.
Mm.
Okay. Then the psychological aspect. If somebody is obese, we tend to call them obolo and things like that. That's stigmatization and It can lead to depression in the affected individuals. We spoke
You know,
about
I
the
was
heart
just going to
and
ask whether there was any psychological effect of obesity, and you just nailed it right there. So body
yeah,
shaming, which has become a thing
body
in
shame.
in our part of the world.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm. And then when we talk about the heart, last time we said that it increases your risk of getting your coronary arteries blocked, which can lead to a heart attack. Okay.
Mm.
Obesity is also related to hypertension, right? Obesity also, causes the hypertension even in pregnant women. If you are pregnant and then you are obese, your chances of getting hypertension are higher. The chances
Wow.
of giving birth to a baby that is big is also higher. Now, if your baby is big, it presupposes that the delivery will be difficult. Okay.
Mm.
Now, an obese person that undergoes surgery or operation for any particular case, it increases the risk of getting complications after the surgery. Okay, of getting infections, all sorts of things. Okay. Now, when you go to our guts, okay, obesity, as I said, increases your chances of getting some cancers in the gut. Your lung, rectal cancer, colon cancer. They're all associated with obesity. There are diseases of your gallbladder that when you are obese, you have a higher risk of getting. When we talk about the bones and the joints, we mentioned osteoarthritis, inflammation
Mm.
of the joints. You can all get all that from obesity. Obesity can also cause erectile dysfunction in men. Okay. It can also cause problems with fertility in women
That
as
that
well.
that I'm sure that's the next thing we want to look at. Now that we've looked at the so I want you to hold on that there. Let's just still keep it in the ice chest. Let it keep cold. Now let's look at some of the things we can do to actually. Probably someone has obesity. What are the basic things the person can do to actually, scale down the speed of growth in terms of body mass?
Okay. Okay, so you remember earlier I mentioned that obesity is after smoking. That's the commonest risk factor you find in all these non-communicable
Lifestyle
diseases.
diseases. Yeah.
And then we also mentioned that it is not there's not a direct cause and effect relationship, but it's more like an association. Now, the reason why it's an association is that it has been found that all those people who had these kinds of diseases, when they were able to lose significant amounts of weight, the severity of their diseases dropped. Okay,
Okay.
so then, so that is where the association comes from. Okay,
Mm.
now you were asking about what we can do to prevent obesity. Am I right?
Sure. Exactly so.
Yeah. Okay. So as I said, the main factor in obesity is that you are eating more than you are using. So you just have to find ways of using the energy that you take in. Okay. So then exercise, um, don't oversleep, uh, don't take a lot of junk food or
Mm.
processed foods.
Mm.
Um, if get a diet plan, okay. In very bad cases where the amount of obesity is of uh, can cause death or significant health issues, you can do
Mm.
surgery to reduce the amount of fat that the person has. Okay. You should be very, very concerned because when you are in the ranges of morbid obesity, where your BMI as calculated is more than 40, it's
Mm.
actually shown to drop your life expectancy by up to 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah, in men, and then up to 5 years in women.
No, but that's not fair. For men, 25 years.
you know, in the beginning, we mentioned that if you want to use the percentage of body fat to calculate obesity, women have a higher one,
Yeah.
33%, and the men have a lower
No,
one,
but
25%.
relatively, when you look at the comparison, the negatives on both sides, both are negatives, but on one side, the range is not
The
as high
percentage is
as
lower.
yes when you come.
Yeah, women have boobs. breast, and also have a bigger backside than men. All that contains some amount of fat. Okay, so then for them we need to increase the range of normals. That's why
Okay.
their range of
Okay. Okay.
being described as being obese is higher than that of men. I mean, you don't see a man with a big boob with bright things.
Okay.
So that is where the difference in range comes from.
So the first thing you should be wary of would be your weight. You should look at
Yeah.
what to do to reduce. So what do we do then if we want to kind of like reduce our weight? What do we do?
Okay. So what we should do is let's take it from intake, then we'll talk about the use. So you should watch what you eat. Okay. You should cut
Number
down
one,
on the
watch what
amount
you
of
eat.
junk. Yeah, cut down the amount of junk food that you eat. Cut down on the amount of processed foods that you consume. You know, and then don't overeat. Just eat what you need.
Mm.
Because the more you eat, your
But
body
doc,
has to stop.
if you tell someone just eat what you need, what the person needs is for the belly to be full so the person cannot stand anymore.
Remember, I mentioned in the beginning that there are hormones that control the amount of food you eat, and then when you are satisfied, there are hormones that are released that tells your body that you're satisfied. Even those hormones can even reduce the pleasantness of the aroma of food that you smell. Okay,
Mm.
I mean, when you are satisfied, you know that you're satisfied. You don't have to eat anymore, and then use the food you eat is for energy, for growth, for protection. So as you eat, use the energy. Be active, walk,
Wow.
do things that burn energy so that you don't end up storing more than you are taking it.
Mm. Okay. Now,
Smoking, stop.
stop smoking. Okay. I just
Yeah.
wanted to quickly tell everybody that one of the things that we are doing on the 30 Days Health Restore Challenge is to actually guide you to regulate your taste buds. So cravings will change. If you actually you crave for things that contain a lot of sugar or calories, you realize that over time, those things will begin to shift away, and then you begin to crave for things that has enough fiber that are able to help you to balance your diet and at a point, lose weight. Because in this particular program, we are getting people to lose between 5 to 10 kilograms, and that's
Wow.
kilos. That's a lot of
That's
weight to
significant.
shred off. Yes, that's a
Yeah.
lot of weight to shred off. So that's one good thing about signing on for this program. So if you haven't signed up yet, it's never too late. Even if we are done, totally done with the program, you can still have a run for yourself. So, Doc, let's quickly wrap up on the activities that we can do to actually prevent or reverse this disease, and then we touch a little bit on infertility, and then we continue next week because I see we've actually exhausted. I think the 1 hour is not even enough for one lifestyle disease.
Obesity, as I said, it is after smoking, it is the commonest thing you find in all these lifestyle diseases. So
Yeah,
there's a lot about obesity that I don't think an hour is enough. But I mean, it's enough to set out some pointers that you can pay attention to.
right.
So find a way of eating what you need, and then find a way of using the energy that you're taking from food. So increase your amount of physical activity, and then reduce the amount of junk food that you take. I mean, all the people who are watching this program, they know what junk food is. They
Right.
know what they shouldn't eat, and then they know how to keep active. But I mean, we keep emphasizing these things so that it serves as a reminder. You remember I said last week that a simple exercise of skipping rope
Yeah.
can burn a lot of calories. And you don't need any serious investment before you can do that. You can just get a skipping rope from a market or 10 cities or less, maybe. And then you just wake up maybe 30 minutes earlier than you usually do. And then you skip and you step back, go to work.
Mm.
But not everybody can buy a treadmill or go to the gym every time. But this is as simple as you can get. That's one activity we can do
Mm.
to
Okay.
burn energy.
Right. Right. Thank you, Doc. It's been another amazing session with you, and I'm most grateful that yet another day you've been able to take time out of your busy schedule to be part of this program, and we are most grateful. Now, there's been a lot Doc has said today, and we've looked at what obesity is, we've looked at the causes, we've looked at the medical complications, we've looked at what you can actually do, alternative action to be taken to be able to reverse or prevent this disease. Primary amongst them is watch what you eat, cut down junk food, exercise a lot, which means that if you go to work from 8 to 5, between the 8 to 5, find some time to be able to, exercise, at least walk about, go see your colleagues, stretch the body, let circulation be, happening every time of the day. And so as you can see on the screen, this is just a basic way of getting your body mass to really understand what your weight is. So you get your weight, which is in kilograms, over your height, which is meter square. And then you'd be able to tell. Now, Doc gave us the range and the growth process where you can actually, get to know where you are at this point of life, whether you are, under obese, whether you are overweight, whether you are. So you can see the chart on the screen that 18.5, that's underweight, 18.5 to 24.9, that's normal, which I believe I am. Yes. And then 25 to 29 is overweight. 30, you are obese. 35, extremely. And I believe that most of us have seen people living in the extreme obese point where they can't bathe themselves. People have to lift their skin up to towel dry them and all of that. I mean, it's nobody really wants to get there. And Doc has given us the correlation between all of the lifestyle diseases and how they can really, really affect us today or tomorrow. Now, if you want a healthy body, if you want to be able to move about 10 to 15 years to come, and as a man, it's even alarming that men, if your body mass is above 25, that is crazy. Yeah, Doc, am I right? 25.
And your total fat is about 25%.
Your body is 25, is above 25%. Then, I mean, you should be running for your life. And as a woman, it's what's the percentage again, Doc?
33% for women.
33% for women. Probably at this point it's kind of like fair, but trust me, you don't even want to get there. You want to be at the normal stage, which is 18.5 to 24.9. And so I would advise everybody to kind of like get your weight checked, get your height, do the calculation, know where you are, and then advise yourself, just like Doc has said. You are living the life for yourself, but don't forget, if anything happens to you, your family suffers, the nation suffers, the world suffers. Reason the world will suffer is that we are going to lose a very important person. Probably God has sent you on this earth with a lot that you were supposed to do, but because you did not take good care of yourself, you just had to go too early. So because of time, next week we would have to push this forward. So next week we will be doing infertility. Yes, we have a lot of questions on infertility, and I'm glad that we don't have to continue with it tonight, so we can have some rest and come back next week. So infertility is what we'll be coming up with next week. Keep sending in your questions. And like I said, if you haven't signed up for the program yet, it's not too late. You can still sign up. So it's not too late. Yes, you can reach us on the numbers that will be displayed on your screen pretty soon. So you can see we have +233. Okay, so my IT guy would upload the numbers soon. But yes, next week is infertility, and it's an interesting topic you don't want to miss. Like I said, we can see question mark, and the dot at the end of the mark is crying. So that tells us that it's a serious concern for a lot of people. So Doc, your final words probably before we sign out for today.
Final words: watch what you eat, and then use the energy that you gain from food.
Watch what you eat
React.
and use the energy that you get from the food. Be active. Watch what you eat and use the energy from the food you get. It's very important. So if you have taken supper, let's say you took banku, go out and walk. If you took fufu within the hour, go out and walk. Walk for like 30 minutes before you come back and sleep. And you know, Doc, funny enough, in Ghana here, around this time, what's the time now? It's 8 p.m. And so there are several telenovelas that are going to be on the screens. So people sit and eat fufu, banku, kenke, mutuo, TZ, and all of that. And then they sit right back in the sofa and they are watching telenovela, which is going to take an hour. And right after that is another movie and another movie. Oh my goodness. I can now see why we are really facing all of these lifestyle diseases in our society today. But all the same, Doc, thank you so very much for making the time. We are grateful. And we'll see you same time next week, Thursday, which will be our final day. And then we draw curtains on the 30 days health restore challenge.
Thank you too.
Right. So, right. Okay, people, that's it about for today. So I'll see you next week. Enjoy your evening. Stay blessed. My name remains Hola Libelecho. You can call me Hola Kid Spice. Peace.